Yes? Yeah, we will begin with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste to all. Welcome. Very happy to see everybody here. And not everybody, still some more people will come. And we live in altered times, to say the least. Masks and always hand sanitizer at hand, distancing, wanting to be with others, but feeling diffident about that. All these things. And this is not, unfortunately, this is not new. This has been going on for 2 years. This, in sum, the message is to sit still. It is very, very clear. And one good thing, that's why I call it the Karuna virus, not the coronavirus. One good thing is that a lot of people at this time started to take the classes online. They got newly acquainted with Vedanta in a different way. Not by choice, but out of necessity. Out of necessity, in a sense. So that has been good, because we have been able to, many people that used to come here regularly, that used to like the contact with the Swamis, with the people, the staff in the Gurukulam, with Shuddhatma ji, with Vimla ji, with everybody, had to get used to a new reality of connecting differently. Connecting from one's own place and one's own space. And by that I don't mean, one's home, but feeling, the whole point is feeling at home with oneself. That is the message of Vedanta. Wherever you are at home. If you are at home with yourself. And that is what we have been as a collective trying to learn, trying to understand all these 2 years. 2 years plus, continuing, with now the latest iteration. What is it called? Nobody knows how to pronounce it. Some people say Omicron. There is no N there. Omicron. So many things. But all that doesn't matter. I take solace in the fact that it starts with the holy word Om. So how bad can it be? Maybe here also there is some lesson. There is something there. It's the name of Bhagavan. And Saguna, Nirguna simultaneously. So there is some lesson here. So let it deliver the lesson. And keep everyone safe. That is my prayer for this iteration of it. The message is very clear. The whole point is to feel at home with oneself. And this is the basic problem, what Pujya Swamiji would very eloquently call the fundamental human problem. That is, not feeling somehow comfortable with who one is. There is a sense of discomfort. There is a sense of not feeling at ease, a sense of unease or dis-ease. And this dis-ease is due to, ultimately, when we look at the source. What is the source? I mean, you've been coming here for so long. So, what is the source? Who would like to see? Who would like to say? Yeah, very good. Atma Ajnanam. That can be the answer for any question that is asked here. Yeah. So anything, self-ignorance, Atma Ajnanam. That's all it is. And I know you know this because all of you have been studying so well for so long. And so this Atma Ajnanam, has to be tackled repeatedly from many angles. And it not because the removal of Atma Ajnanam is a difficult task. No, it is not difficult. Because it is based on what we call being, the message of Vedanta works and works very efficaciously. Because it is not a philosophy, it is not some kind of a psychology, it is not a therapy, although people do find it therapeutic. It is, simply speaking, a means of knowing something that is not available for one to know. What is that thing? Show some signs of life, no? Yeah, this Zoom has made everybody very lazy. Sitting like little postage stamps and all kinds of things. Please show at least one sign of life. Yeah, oneself. See how easy it is, yeah. So, this is the thing. So now you are no longer in Zoom Kulam, okay? You are in Guru Kulam. So everybody is not a tiny postage stamp, size whatever. Now we are all in 3D. So therefore, this to know the self is not difficult. It is difficult because we do not know how to deploy a correct means of knowledge. All the other means that we have at hand are of no use. Why are they of no use? Because that which we call the self is not something that one can see as an object. We cannot hear, we cannot see, not touch, smell, taste, nothing. Nothing at all. Not possible at all. And so therefore what? Or maybe I can infer it. You can't infer it either. Because after all, inference is also based on objectification. Inference is also based on the 5 main sense organs, which are known as pratyaksha pramanani. Pramana, means of knowledge. Pramayaha karanam, pramanam. This is in Sanskrit. Pramayaha, prama means knowledge. And if you belong to, the Tamil region, you have to be careful about pronouncing it. Because sometimes there is pakara, bakara yoho, there is no bheda, abheda. Meaning, it is written like Brahma. And if you say Brahma, then it's Brahma. That means it is delusion. It's not Brahma. It is Brahma. Actually, Ma means knowledge. Ma is knowledge, and we add the prefix pra, which means well ascertained knowledge. Prama. Pramayaha karanam. Karana means means of knowledge. So this is the definition of pramana. It shows you something that you cannot otherwise see. And so there are many pramanas. Eyes are a pramana. Ears are a pramana. Eyes are a pramana to see form and color. Because without sight, you cannot see color or form. You cannot say, I'm tired of using my eyes, I want some option. Let me use my ears to see what color this is. I think it is red. Am I correct? No. I can't be correct because this is not the job of the ears. To hear, I have to, use the ears. Yeah, a friendly reminder to turn off all ringing things. Okay, yeah. Pinging, ringing things. So the ears are for a different purpose. Eyes are they have their own, they are the Raja in their own domain. What the ears do, the eyes cannot do. What the eyes do, the tongue cannot do. What the tongue does, the skin, the sense of touch cannot do. Each one is the final say in its own domain, in its own region. This is something which is important to see. Now, none of them can be deployed to understand the eye. Why? Because it is not the correct pramana. If I say I am going to infer the eye, then what would happen? It would be like saying, I will see the color of the flower with my ears. So that which is not a subject matter for inference, it cannot be used for inference at all. That which is not a subject matter for sight cannot be used for sight. So we classify 5 pramanas. So the first one includes all the 5 sense organs. 5 into 1. Okay? That is 1. It is called direct perception. Pratyaksha. Aksham prati. Pratyaksha pramana. Then we have inference. And the Shastra gets very fancy with regard to the inference because we have 2 kinds of inference. One is basic inference. That happened today to me. I woke up and got ready to go to the temple and then opened the door of my room and it was all white. So what is the inference? It snowed last night. Did I see it snowing last night? No. I didn't hear it snow, I didn't see it snow, but then the inference is it must have snowed. The inference is not somebody came and put some cotton all over the roads. That's not the inference, right? So this is what is called one-step inference. This is one kind of inference. It is called, what is that? Anumana. Anumana. Miyate, miyate means it is measured. Anu, in keeping with the facts. Something is understood, inferred, measured. Anumiyate, anena, iti, anumana. Then we have a little more sophisticated inference. That is practiced by all parents, for example, of teenagers. Where were you? Oh, I was at such and such a person's house. You were not there, I already know. I have called. I called that to a friend of yours. You were not there. No, no, no. Along with him or her, I went here or there. I have checked here and I have checked there. You were nowhere else. Where were you, young woman, young man? This is arthapatti. See, every parent is very sophisticated, apparently, to practice this arthapatti at home. It is a more than one step inference. I was here. No, you were not here. I already know. Why couldn't I have been here? Because you couldn't have gone there in such a short time from where you were. So that means you were somewhere else. Where were you? And I also know that you're not telling me the truth. You're hesitating to tell the truth. So some gadbad is there. So what is going on? So this is multi-step inference, more than one step inference. Arthapatti. Anyatha anupapattau. Because no other way it is possible. And this the parent will say. This is not possible. The explanation that you are giving does not sit with the facts that I have. Simple. This is arthapatti. So, how many have we covered so far? 3. What are they? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Arthapatti. Now the people who are online are feeling relieved they are not in this room. One of the few perks of being on the other end of live stream, I suppose. So then we have a special pramana. But before that, we have something, which is based on simile. Upama. Not what you will get for breakfast tomorrow. It is different. Upama. And upama means kind of a comparative, a simile. And what is this simile? This is like you have a known entity. One entity is known and the other entity is unknown. So you use the known entity and then when you meet or greet the unknown entity, you make a comparison and say, yeah. In India we have this kind of a hybrid cow-like creature called Nilgai. Blue cow. It's actually grey, it's not blue, okay? Don't think of Krishna or color or anything like that. It's greyish, dark, kind of medium grey. And if you haven't seen Nilgai, and if I tell you, it is like a cow, it is like a cow and a bison mixed together. So you know cow and you've heard of bison, perhaps seen it in pictures or National Geographic. And so you can, when you meet this, you will see, aha, okay, this is what it is. This kind of a means of knowledge is called upama. 4 done. And the 5th one that we have at hand is called anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhihi. Upalabdhi, gain, presence. Anupalabdhi, no gain, absence. So the cognition of absence is an important way of, it's an important pramana. Where did my keys go? They were right here. I had put them on the table, says one person. The other person says, no, calm down, look calmly. It is right. If it was right there, it will be right there. But it's not here. So, anupalabdhi is always used in a relative sense. The absence of what and where. These two things are very important. What are we talking which is absent? Here, in the drishtanta, in the example, what is absent? keys. And where is it absent? Right here on this table, it is absent. This is what Anupalabdhi means. A relative absence. Why not talk of a universal absence? Universal absence is not there. Because if you were to say that the truth of this whole Jagat is what? Zero. Then, we would be very close to an iteration of Buddhism, but that's not where we are going here with this example. If we were to say that the truth of the whole Jagat is zero, non-existent, absent, then as Vedantins we would contend with this statement. Why? Because in the statement, the whole Jagat is zero, then, first of all, we are using the word is to explain this absence. But let's not get so complicated. After all, it's the first day. We'll do. So, we don't want to drive everyone away. And so, on a very simple note, when you say nothing exists, who is the one who says nothing exists? Are you existent or not? Well, I don't know. You can't say that. You can't say, I don't know if I exist. Because that would not be correct. Because you do know you exist. And even if you were to say, I don't exist, it would be like a small child playing hide and seek and which says, don't look behind the door. I'm not hiding behind the door. In saying that you don't exist, you advertise your presence. So, these are the means of knowledge that we have in our hand, in our head, in our heads and hands. What do I mean by saying we have them in our hands? Meaning, meaning I, the self, any person, operates these means of knowledge. I here, ahankara. The I, which is this body, mind, sense complex, led by the ahankara, identified with the I notion, says, I am the one who is seated on the throne, which has a title, Knower. I am seated on the knower throne, and then what? I have I have something, I have got something. I got it. So this ahankara has a catch and kill mentality. Why? This is from the several 100,000 janmas of the Pashu Janma. This is the remnant, vasana of Pashu Janma. Vasana means strong impressions of so many kinds of births that one may have had, where one caught and killed in order to survive. And here, literally not killing, but the killing is a word for conquest, often used, especially by teenagers. One young fellow came to see me with his mom, and the mother said he had appeared for some big exam. How did you do? I asked. I killed it, Swaminiji. I got a little worried because that was the first time. This was a while ago, okay? I got a little worried because the first time I had heard this expression. And I looked at the mother with a little concern. She said, no, he means to say he did very well. Teenagers are refreshing because they say things as they are. And so this is the catch and kill. Everything has to be conquered. I have to get it. I I have to be on top of it. I have to catch it, kill it, know it. This is what the tendency is in knowing all branches of knowledge. The catch and kill mentality. I have to know it, I have to put it in the corner of my mind, I have to file it. And when is the filing done? After categorizing it. This will come in this category, that category, so many categories, so little time. So these are the 5 means of knowledge we have to play so that we can look like knowers and masquerade as, as all-knowing without knowing much, or with knowing very, very little, really. But these means of knowledge, as we have seen in many other contexts, are of no use when it comes to understanding the I. My question is, why? Because Atma, can you see the Atma? So now, any question I ask, the answer is no, okay? Yeah. So don't disappoint. Yeah. So, can you see the Atma? No. Can you hear the Atma? No. Can you feel the Atma? No. And then, can you taste the Atma? No. Does Atma have a smell that you can pick up? No. Gone. Can you infer the Atma exists? People tried. There was a philosopher who tried that. French philosopher who said, I think, therefore I am. But that was the problem of putting Descartes before Deshorse. This is what happens. This is what happens. Thankfully, he corrected himself at the end of the life and he said, I am, and therefore I can think. Therefore I can think. And so that's why inference, whether we are talking of one-step inference, what was its name? Anumana. Yeah, I'm glad everybody did not say no, because that was that was what was heard a little while back. Anumana. Or the multi-step inference, Arthapatti. All of them are of no use. All the inferences, no use. Because the I is not a subject matter to be inferred. The I is the inferer of other things. Without the I, no inference can take place. Single step, multi-step, 2-step, 3-step, nothing. Without the presence of the I, there is no inference, and therefore the I comes before inference, so to speak. And so the I precedes any inference that can be made. And so that is not a possibility. So 2 at one go, we have finished it off. Then what else is left? Upama. Yes. Atma is like ... What shall we compare it to? How many Atmas are there? Only one. What is it like? Nothing. Nothing that we can compare it to. Is it unlike something? That also we cannot say. And that's why Vedanta poets have a very difficult time composing poetry about Atma, because they have only 2 things, poor things, to talk about. One is, it is like sun, self-lit I, self-lit Atma. And what is the other one? It is like space, all pervasive. Other than these 2, and even then they make it a point to say, we are just comparing. In fact, space is that which has, as it were, projected, come out of, as so to speak, by the Atma. Time is because Atma is. Time dependent on Atma, space dependent on Atma. So what happens to the means of knowledge called Upama? Gone. Arthapatti gone. Anumana gone. Pratyaksha gone. What else is left? Anupalabdhi was already gone because I told you the self, the sentient being can never negate oneself. You can negate everything else except you. So all 5 means of knowledge is gone. And so the ahankara is jumping up and down now with great pain and fear. Kya kare? What to do now? What to do? OMG. You have to get out of the way. You mean me? You mean somebody else? I have to get out of the way? I'm not doing anything. I'm wanting to know. That's why I have come to the Gurukulam. Yeah, but the knowledge takes place when you get out of the way. Get out of the way means what? That as a knower. This is a knowledge that cannot be claimed by someone with the epithet of being a knower. We see this very beautifully illustrated in the Kenopanishad. The teacher asks a quiz. Who knows the Atma? Students are eager to please. Me, I know the Atma. I know the Atma very well, he says, for good measure. One student says, he or she says. And the teacher is very plain spoken. The teacher says, Yadi manyase suvedeti. Suveda means, if you say, you know the Atma very well. Dabhrameva nunam tvam vetha brahmano rupam. Your knowledge is like, dabhram means a dust bunny. You know what is a dust bunny? A small little lint of dust that is flying around aimlessly. That much alone is your knowledge, which is basically nothing. If you say you know Brahman very well and you are the knower of Brahman, you know, that is what, that means you don't know anything at all. Then the students was confused. Then another one raised the hand and said, I don't know Brahman at all. And the teacher said, yes, I can see that from your face. Sit down. Sit down, I can already make out that you don't know anything. Baith jao. So obviously that was also not the correct answer. Then finally the third student gives the correct answer. I can't say I do not know the Atma, Brahman here, and I cannot say I know it very well either. Shabash. Yes, correct. You know. So here it is a knowledge, Vedanta is full of paradoxes. It's a knowledge without the presence of a knower. It's a knowledge that is non-separate from oneself. It's a knowledge that shines as oneself. It's a knowledge that hides as soon as the knower appears and starts to look for it. Very exciting, very interesting, and totally paradoxical. So therefore, the means of knowledge called Shastra Pramana or Shabda Pramana, a Shastra which comes in the form of words. The Shastra that is there in the form of words. Naturally it's in the form of words because we have to understand words that can be understood. But the Shastra is cryptic. And that's because it needs to be expounded, unfolded by a person who is called teacher, guru, and that guru unfolds the Shastra systematically in keeping with the rules of engagement and unfoldment. Now, where are those rules? That rules of engagement and unfoldment, this guru got from his guru, who got from her guru, who got from his guru, who got from her guru. We can be here all night long if we keep going like this. So, to cut a very long lineage short, we end up in Adi Guru, who is in the other building, Lord Dakshinamurti, who you will greet in the morning. That is why we have this too, because this is a teaching institution and it begins with Bhagavan as Guru. Very beautiful. Dakshinamurti has two meanings. One is Dakshina Abhimukha Murti, south facing Lord. Why? So that you can face north. If you are facing the Lord, you face north. South is a scary place. In Vastu Shastra, south is the realm of what? Lord Yama. Means death. Dakshinamurti conquers death because faces south. And then what happens? You face north. North is the opposite of Lord Yama, moksha. North is moksha. That's why in South India everyone wants to go to Kashi because it's in the north. That's one reason. And so the other meaning of Dakshinamurti is the one who is Dakshaha, adept in cutting the cords of wrong understanding. And the wrong understanding is always very simple. And what is it caused by? Using the wrong means to understand what is to be understood. Using the wrong pramana, trying to see the Atma, trying to intuit the Atma, infer the Atma, trying to do the Atma. That's another thing. Because I want to create moksha. I want to create freedom. What is freedom? That is your nature already. It is already your nature, but then if you say, I want to keep on making something that is already there, then it is a useless endeavor. So, the Shastra Pramana or the Shabda Pramana is an interpretation of that which is there in the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita, and in the text that we are going to study, Laghu Vakya Vritti. It is a understanding of that. And it's not an interpretation that is based on one's own, what is that called, epiphanies, or one's own whims, fancies. It is based on a long tradition. And just like in therapy, one cannot become a therapist without undergoing therapy oneself. Here too, one has undergone the transformation from being an Atma Ajnani to receiving the knowledge and then being in a position to give it to others. And that is what makes such a teacher, an acharya, a safe person to study with, to study from. And everybody knows this, especially in India. In India, if you go to any kind of a religious sabha means assembly, and you say, I got all this knowledge by myself, they will have the same reaction to you what in America people have when you tell people, I have the flu. What will people do, especially in pandemic time? I think I'm coming down with something. You don't even need to name it. You just casually drop the thing, the words. I think I'm coming down with something. They will jump away. Same thing. They will jump away here. If you say, I got all this knowledge, they will say, theek hai, you keep up, rakho. You keep it and you enjoy it, don't give it to me. Don't give it to me. Just like when you say, I'm coming down with something, don't give it to me. Same thing. I have self-knowledge that I got all by myself, apne aap. This apne aap business does not work in India. They will say, don't give it to me. You do whatever you want with it. People are not even interested in your name. At a religious assembly, they want to know one thing and one thing only. They will ask, especially in North India, Aapka Guru Sthan kahan hai? That is, what is your lineage? Who is your teacher? That is the beauty of this tradition. The beauty of this tradition is that you, as a teacher, do not matter at all. And that is your glory. That you do not matter is your glory, and that's beautiful. That is what differentiates this from a cult. In a cult, it's a person-based. Here it is lineage-based. The same thing. And no matter who in the tradition will teach the same thing through many ways and avenues. And yes, you may enjoy different things about different teachers, and that's all vibhuti. It is wonderful. It is really, really wonderful. You may connect with some more than the others, and that's all okay. It's just like Ishta Devata, the concept of Ishta Devata. And that's all fine. But without the teacher, without a teacher, one can kiss this knowledge goodbye for this reason. Because it cannot come, it will not come. Even if it comes, it will not stay. It will not be understood. It will not be assimilated. And then, so therefore, what does the teacher do? The teacher doesn't drill any new knowledge. The teacher simply removes wrong notions. And in fact, the wrong notions about the I preponderate because of in the petri dish of Atma Ajnanam. This is what happens. The wrong notions keep on, proliferating. And all it needs is to be removed. So we can look at this retreat as a 1-week course of antibiotics to get rid of all the wrong notions. This is what it is. And the reason I'm discussing the pramanas today is because the pramanas that one operates, one has a partiality for the pramanas that one operates. I saw it with my own eyes, therefore I believe it. I heard it with my own ears. I'm the one who's operating the ears. I'm the inferrer. I am the one who came to this conclusion. Clever me. And I'm the one who named this. I'm the one who categorized this. I'm the one who invented this. I'm the one who discovered this. And in all this, what is in common? I. Me. And here, it's a knowledge where the I has to be anesthetized. Yeah. This is just like undergoing surgery. You can't argue with the surgeon, Tell me where you are going to cut. Show me the scalpel. In the middle of the surgery, if you do that. And, that's why the surgeon also is very happy when you are under anesthesia, because they don't want interference in what they are doing. They know what they are doing. You have to submit to the surgery. And here too, it is submitting to the pramana. It's not submitting to a person. It is submitting to the pramana. That is what is called sharanagati, taking refuge, surrender. And how do you submit to the pramana? You submit to the pramana through the outlook, an open mind, which is called Shraddha. That Shraddha helps with the opening of the heart, which is what this knowledge is all about. This is not so that one can become some kind of a Vedanta professor, and this is not to argue which Acharya is the better, Tikakara or this Bhashyakara or this or that. This is for one's own self-discovery as a compassionate, totally compassionate, loving and contented person who is free of the sorrow, pain, and all fear and all such afflictions. That is the self-discovery, this journey. And in this, journey, the main thing is the removal of all the things that do not belong. I am small. Doesn't belong. It doesn't jive well with the vision that you are all. I am small. Nobody loves me. What is happening to me? All this has no place. And slowly, it is in that repeated listening that it goes. So the ignorance wears out itself, wears out its welcome, wears out itself, and then it goes. And the knowledge is already there as it shines. Right now the knowledge is there, but it is some, kabhi kabhi. Yeah. Sometimes I feel that I'm free. Sometimes I feel that I'm okay. And this is not kabhi kabhi business. This is always. Always you are free. Not just in sleep, not just when some happy things happen, not just when a desire is fulfilled, you are free. You're free all the time. You're, glorious all the time. You shine all the time. And that is where the Shraddha, having an open heart, an open mind, comes into the picture. I know you'll have a glorious time, and I know that it'll be a wonderful journey that we will all undertake together. And welcome again, or welcome back if you have been coming. And stay safe, keep the masks on. And one more thing I wanted to say is that if you want to see me, to talk to me, what I think I will do is outside somewhere there are some chairs. Where? No, that room, I don't know if they may have locked it or something. I don't want to bother them for rooms and all that. There is an open courtyard inside, not outside, inside as you enter through the main doors, which are locked now, out from, but you can see. There is, I don't know, which direction they are in, but there is some courtyard with some chairs, and I will be there. I will sit there after every class for some time. So if you want to come, just to talk, if you have questions, whatever it is, you can come and talk to me. So that way we can, we can all enjoy one another and interact, and at the same time maintain that safety. All right? Do you have any questions about whatever we have talked, or about any logistics or anything? Okay. Yeah. We'll end with a bhajan. I will invite Sahadev to come and send us with a nice holy lullaby. I'll say the closing prayer, then we'll end with a bhajan. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. It's near where they keep the coffee. There are some chairs and tables. I'll be there, yeah. Oh, see, yeah, I'm completely disoriented. It's on that side, yes. Yeah.
Jai 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 Ganapati Deva. Jai 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 Ganapati Deva. Jai 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 Ganapati Deva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Gajanana, 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 Gajanana. Gajanana, hey Ganapati Deva. Gajanana, hey Ganapati Deva. Gajanana, hey Ganapati Deva. Gajanana, hey. Jai 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 Ganapati Deva. Jai 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 Ganapati Deva. Jai 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 Ganapati Deva. Ganapati Deva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Gajanana, 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 hey Ganapati Deva. 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 Gajanana, hey Ganapati Deva.
Thank you.
Jai Jai Shri.
Wonderful. Om Tat Sat.